credits rolled, at the end of the very first episode, it had me. I was hooked. The stage was set, and I could not wait to witness how this thing would play out. Now, I have not read the story by Edgar Allan Poe that this show is based on, so I'm not going to be doing any comparisons, and I'm really just taking the show at face value. But as you watch this show, you will get a ton of references to his works. Anyway, let's get into it. This story is primarily told through Roderick Usher, as he's explaining to the DA, Mr. Dupin, how the tragic and gruesome deaths of his children, one by one, came to be. He also goes on to explain how him and his sister Madeline came to be the owners of the giant pharmaceutical company Fortunato, which is the source of his family's immense wealth, influence, and power. Now, these are the two main plot threads that will kind of weave in and out together throughout the entirety of the show, to very good effect. Even with episodes clocking in around about an hour each, this show felt lean. Rarely did I ever feel like this show was dragging its feet or really fluffing things out a bit too much. The cast and their performances were pretty strong across the board, and I thought there was really good dialogue writing, at least for the most part. I found it easy to get invested into these characters, even though I already knew what was coming to them. The depictions of the younger Roderick and Madeline and Mr. Dupin, I thought they did a great job of mirroring the present-day versions that we see, especially for Madeline. Young Madeline actually ended up being one of my favorite characters on the show. Special call out here, though, to Mark Hamill. Man, it was awesome seeing him in a role like this. He plays the family's attorney, Arthur Pym, or the Pym Reaper, as they call him in the show. I thought he seemed like a more sinister version of the Corleone family attorney, and he absolutely nailed it. Now, I thought the actual horror aspects and elements of the show were pretty solid, maybe a little uneven. It didn't really have any sense of impending dread or anything like that as I watched it. It didn't have scenes that were tension-filled and kind of had me chewing my fingernails off or anything like that. It did have some startling images and jump scares kind of sprinkled throughout it. And it also had this very macabre style to it, a very macabre atmosphere throughout its entirety. And I thought that was just perfect for the story that it was trying to tell. And that story plays out very much like a mystery whodunit, which is kind of interesting because we essentially already know who done it. The show points that out very early. The question we end up asking ourselves as the show goes on is, who is she? Or maybe more importantly, what is she? And as the show gets to the final episode and all the loose ends are kind of being tied up, I would say that the show does have a fairly satisfying conclusion. I really only had a couple lingering questions once all was said and done. I did have a few criticisms, but I mean, on the whole, I think they're kind of nitpicky. Like some of the deaths of the children, I thought came off kind of lame in comparison to some of the other ones. And also one of the death scenes I thought was just straight lifted from one of the Saw movies. So fans of that franchise will probably know exactly what I'm talking about. None of these things is any kind of deal breaker for me, though. So in my opinion, this is one of the best episodic shows that the horror genre has put out in a hot minute, and probably the best thing that director Mike Flanagan has done to date. For fans of the horror genre, I think this is a must-watch show. And even not being a fan of the horror genre, I mean, I highly recommend the show to audiences in general. It is solid top to bottom, and Views from the Basement is going to be giving the show 4 out of 5 stars. It's great. And with that, I just want to say thank you very much for watching, guys. And if you liked what you've seen here, please hit that like button and subscribe. Most importantly, please get down in the comments section and let me know what you thought of this show. And that's all I got, people. I'm out of here.